the broader effects of armed conflict, the COVID-19 pandemic and its effect, disruptions in the global supply chains, and persistent extreme weather due to climate change and macroeconomic instability. To compound this crisis, the economies of the continent continue to bear the burden of rising costs of servicing huge national debts, caused in part by high global interest rates and, of course, external shocks. I am, however, confident that the strong positive response by African leaders and nations to the Africa Union Agenda 2063 signals our collective intent to undertake radical transformation of African economies, achieve sustainable development goals, and unite our people in prosperity. We have what it takes to succeed, and current activities show movement in an encouraging direction. To achieve this transformation, a consistent commitment of substantial resources is required to invest in infrastructure, industrial capacity to deliver rapid growth. However, we face the rigid barrier of global financial architecture that is fundamentally misaligned with our aspirations. We routinely borrow from international markets at rates far above those paid by the rest of the world, often up to 8 or 10 times more. These rates are said to factor in something arbitrary called risk profile that is notably not applied when considering mineral extraction, even in areas of active conflict. It is safe, we are told, to mine in spaces where there is conflict, but it is risky to lend to African economies. What a contradiction. The debt problem faced by many countries, which consume the largest share of national resources and starve development agenda, we are a direct result of this unjust financial architecture. This situation not only makes debt unsustainable, but also undermines growth, prevents countries from investing in resilience, and denies millions of people, especially young men and women, their fair shot at life's opportunities. Africa remains most vulnerable to the effects of climate change, as evidenced by recent devastating floods, for example, in Kenya, and drought in Southern Africa, from which we are still working to recover, as well as other climate-related disasters across the continent. The adverse impact of climate change or the fiscal sustainability of many economies, especially in developing countries in Africa, deserves our serious attention. Despite contributing only 4% of global carbon emissions, we bear the brunt of climate change effects. Climate change is a threat multiplier. Its direct impact and related responses negatively affect our fiscal position through reduced revenues and increased public spending. The frequency of extreme weather events continuously diminish the resources available for public investment and provision of critical public goods, such as health, education, and other social services. In particular, climate change has often resulted in substantial reallocation of resources towards mitigation, adaptation, and resilience. This is why Africa advocates for a financial architecture that integrates the issues on climate change and public finance at the center. I am proud of African heads of state who have not hesitated to make their voices heard in various fora, including through the Africa Leaders Nairobi Declaration on Climate Change and Call to Action that we held here in Nairobi. Climate change and sovereign debt are now firmly integrated, trapping governments in a vicious cycle where increasing losses and damage from climate impacts leads to rising costs of mobilizing resources for public investment. With such high financing costs and constrained government budgets, developing countries continue to struggle investing in low carbon and climate resilient development. At risk, therefore, are both climate action and our sustainable development goals. A better, more responsive, and fairer international financial architecture is urgently needed, and time here is of the essence. The financial architecture we advocate for as Africa today should integrate the continent's most challenging development